Wait for it. All right, this is going to be a little underwhelming, Scott, but I'll get better as we go, okay?
Okay.
Hello? 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 If you can hear this, it's not too late. I returned to one. This is Time Pop, a podcast that discusses time travel and pop culture. There are spoilers. I've seen the future, and nothing is sacred to these folks. Your past, present, and future are sure to be ruined. Even if you could go back in time, as I have, you will never forget what you are about to hear. You've been warned. This is Time Pop.
Welcome, Chrononauts, as we guide you through the experience of time travel using pop culture as our butt. And somebody better call Sir Mix-a-Lot because it's a big butt. We will be your constants. I am Des.
I'm Scott. And
this
is Time Pop Live! Shots of New York City over montage.
Let's see. I want to see if we're actually live.
Oh.
Shots of New York City.
We're live.
Montage.
It's like time travel. It's like a time loop in here is what it is.
Wow.
Welcome.
Exciting. Who's our musical guest today? Pearl Jam?
No, Pearl Jam is last week. What's another? Let's see.
What's a what's-see?
There's got to be a million other jizz references
In the movie?
No, in music, in rock music.
Oh yeah, I found one. Well, the 10cc, right?
Right.
Yeah. You want?
That's
you
right.
want more? This is a totally separate podcast. We're starting up our time travel with what are other jizz references? Oh, you never know, folks.
I don't care about the piss, mate. Clean up the mess. It smells like jism.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, just welcome everybody. I hope we maybe get a few people actual live. If you're not here actual live, I hope you're enjoying, the live energy that we're bringing to our recordings now.
Live. This is happening. When is this happening?
Now.
Now? When is now? When did that happen?
Now.
Okay. When did now happen? Just
now.
then? Now. This is fun. We're playing around with being present. This is important.
This is so great. So today we're going to talk about Mega Time Squad.
Mega Time Squad!
From 2018, a blissful 86 minutes long.
Oh, Des, I mean, when you saw that, it's not even an hour and a half. It's an hour and 26 minutes, folks.
I will, if it's a football night, I don't even think about watching a movie. I finished the Seahawks game, and then I watched this movie, and I still got to bed before 10 o'clock. It was just, it was perfect.
Yeah, man. Even you get to have good days. Even you.
Oh my God.
Dog shines on the sun shines on some dog's ass someday. I forget. There's a Wesley Snipes White Men Can't Jump quote in there.
I think there's a quote out there that if you have a time machine, your clock is never right. No, or is it always right? Never right.
Never right. That makes sense.
Oh no, it's always 420 somewhere. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So this is written and directed by no one you've ever heard of. One guy, Shelton, is in. Have you ever seen the show? There's a lot of great people in this. I don't want to totally shit on them, but they're just not in a lot of things that I know. What's it called? Oh, What We Do in the Shadows. Have you watched What We Do in the Shadows?
Yes.
So Shelton is in that, and that is
it's that humor. Yeah, it's got that super dry New Zealand humor to it.
Like once a week, Kelly and I quote that show and say bats and then disappear. Because that's because they're vampires. Whenever they turn into bats, they go bat, and then they turn into a bat. It's just fantastic.
That makes sense. That adds up.
Do you have Barry up?
Do I Barry? Oh, I can.
Can you dig up Barry? I could dig up Barry too, but I got a lot on my screens right now, so I'm going to make you dig up Barry. We got a lot of time to talk about this movie, so we'll get to it. But the reason this got bumped up the list is because we're starting to work our way through the stuff on Barry's list that we haven't gotten to yet, and this was pretty high on Barry's list. Correct?
No, it's not super high. It's like I think it was in the 50s.
Okay. It's for some reason I thought this was in like
It's number 55 on Barry's list. So for those that we haven't, maybe you just joined us the first time. This is Barry is a very comprehensive website of analyzing and breaking down films. He's got a whole section for time travel films and like his best 100 time travel films. Sometimes he has a whole rating system, a very like systematic rating system, and sometimes he'll make like the timeline visual for confusing time travel movies. So he's kind of our god. We respect his opinion, and there's some movies out of his list of 100. There's maybe like 7 films we haven't done at this point.
Yeah, he has a way better rating system than we do. We're just ours is his is like he gives numbers to all the different things, and then based on those numbers, when I added up, when Scott, me, and Ari did our first top 10 list, I tried to aggregate our top 10 list, and everyone out there, they got so mad at me because numerically, our combined numerical algorithm did not equal the list that they were proud of, and I thought it was a great way to mind meld, and they were just like, no.
What was the best film according to the algorithm?
Let me see. I think I still have it. Do I still have the algorithm somewhere? Oh, everyone.
While you're getting it, I'm just going to say for This Is Barry, just to get a sense of reference, Barry's best film was number 1. The worst film was like 100, I think, or was it 97? Boss Level was 52. About Time, 53. Shadow of the Moon, 54. And I know in Desmond and my list, Shadow of the Moon is far cry from like About Time and Boss Level. And then Mega Time Squad's 55. And then Adam Project is 57. So he's putting Mega Time Squad is above Adam Project. And then Time Traveler's Wife is 58. So we got some differing opinions, and that's okay. That's what makes horse racing. Everyone votes for a different horse. Otherwise, horse racing would be very boring.
Okay, here's our group think top 10. Predestination
is number 1. Wow.
Interstellar.
Uh-huh.
That's my fault. I put Interstellar way too low. That's my fault. I take responsibility for that. Tenet is number 3. Back to the Future 2, then Back to the Future 1. And that's because Back to the Future didn't even make my list. That again.
Eat a bag of dicks.
Back to the Future 2 got a 10. Back to the Future got a 0 on my top 10. Primer.
Feel free to write in on this one, folks. There's a lot of purists right now that might do some toilet papering to your house. I'll let them know where it is.
And then it's kind of interesting because after Primer at number 6, the rest of these are only rated by one of us.
Wow.
So the rest of these movies are based on a single rating that got into one of our top 10s. Triangle, Looper, 12 Monkeys, Men in Black 3, Paradox, Donnie Darko, The Infinite Man, The Time Machine, Endgame, Groundhog Day, Time Crimes, Frequency, The Butterfly Effect, Hot Tub Time Machine, Time Lapse. And then there's a weird little asterisk at the end where Ari rated Back to the Future 1 and 2 in the same place. And we never quite solved that mystery. So, anyways. So Barry gives everything a number, and then he adds those numbers up, divides by a hidden gem that he doesn't privy to the rest of the world. and then he labels them 1 through 100 based on that, which I like, because then there's like, might have a 10 in time travel, but a 2 in story, and so even though it's a cool time travel movie, and Scott and I just kind of we talk about it for a little while, and then we've got one. I mean, we've got a pretty intricate, because we use the clock. We have what's 60 times 12? Quick, Scott. 620. No,
612.
720.
That's what I said.
So we have 720 rating places for them to fall. Anyways, tangent not over. We're never through with tangents. So what does Barry say about?
It's a short synopsis. He says, Mega Time Squad is a hilarious film that follows a small-time crook who picks up an ancient Chinese bracelet that allows him to travel back in time by a few minutes. Things get out of hands. When he travels back. Maybe that makes sense. Things get out of hands when he travels back too many times, trying to escape death at the hands of a gangster. That's a more succinct version than you and I would have just done.
Absolutely.
It's a simple film. It's definitely comedic. It's definitely got dry New Zealand humor.
Is the magical Chinese guy in 2018 problematic?
Well, in the beginning, they show the crime boss. He does say a ethnic slur that I don't use, and haven't heard people use around me in a very long time, and that felt uncomfortable a little bit.
I missed that.
You missed that?
With all the New Zealand slang that was getting thrown around, I missed the classic.
He used a classic bad Chinese slur to refer to them. So I had a hard time with that.
This movie is New Zealand as fuck.
Yeah.
Everybody just get that out there. So we're all playing catch up with the lingo in general.
Yeah. So yeah, we start off pretty simple, right? We've got like our hero. He's got a little buddy. They're a little bit Bill and Ted, Beavis and Butthead-ish in a New Zealand way. Not the brightest pebbles on the beach, per se. We gather quickly that they work for a crime boss who's kind of, how would you categorize him? It's like these New Zealand bad guys that are kind of like, just talk out there. They're kind of mean, but they're just kind of jerkwads and don't know what they're doing, really.
We don't get an official, like, this is basically like the local pot dealer.
Yeah, small time.
Got a little too big for his britches.
Yeah, and not even that big.
Well, at some point, the what's the Japanese game? The triads? Don't they say something about triads?
I don't remember.
I know there's I guess it's supposed to be China. I think that guy's a Japanese. There's the Chinese guy who has the magical bracelet, but then I think it must be another Chinese gangster. I'm getting it confused. I was thinking it was a Japanese gangster. Anyways.
So they mention that he's doing a job the next day, and that there's Chinese mobsters or business owners, and they're going to rob them.
Well, this doesn't matter to our time travel conversation, but just to figure it out. So he's just got to pick up some money and then take it somewhere, but then it's not going to but then his guys are going to steal it.
He's going to have people steal for him and bring the money to him, the boss. And then he probably just gives, whatever money he pays his people. So like, let's say he gets $10,000 and then he pays these guys 100 or 200 to do the job.
But instead of just stealing the money, he takes the job to transport the money legitly, and then he's going to steal it?
No, he decides that instead of bringing it to his boss, that he was going to keep the money.
But I thought John was going to take it somewhere and then someone else was going to steal it. Or was John just supposed to steal it?
Oh, I thought John was supposed to steal it.
I think John decided to steal it because Shelton is like.
Well, John was supposed to bring it back to the boss.
Okay.
I thought.
Anyway, none of this matters.
But
So-
it doesn't matter. They set up that this guy's kind of a pushover. He's accused a few times by his mom that he's kind of a wimp, from his boss, from his friend. He does not assert himself. We get to talk about symbolism and reoccurring themes. The term nuts. You've got no nuts comes
No
up
nuts.
in this. And at the end, the arc to the story is, and I got my big nuts. So the symbolism of nuts is major in this film.
Yes. It's all about getting your nuts back. And yeah, and the girl that he falls for at the beginning says, you got to grow some nuts. Everyone's telling him to grow. I think even his landlord tells him to grow some nuts.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff. So we're going to get into this real fast because once we get through the beginning, John takes the money.
He talks to his friend about stealing the money for themselves.
That's right.
So they go to this place, and then while they're robbing them, he gets the necklace.
And then he gets the bracelet.
The bracelet. And they warn him that the bracelet is like a temporal displacement, but if you use it, a demon will come and get you and devour you. And that
we find all that later. He's just warned, don't steal the bracelet. And then he's going to steal the bracelet. And the guy he steals the bracelet from says, you'll be back. Like, this is bad news. You're on your own, dipshit. So then his buddy rats him out. And Shelton and his thugs confront him. And this is where our time travel story begins. And I have pages, Scott, pages. I've watched this movie kind of twice. I watched it once, and then today I watched it in fast forward just so I could get to all the time travel points and try to put it together, because it seemed to get really. This movie is so small. There's no timeline online. Did Barry make a timeline?
No.
And so I didn't build a chart, but I took notes just to see, because I couldn't tell if we were supposed to be able to track them.
I don't think so. When they're in the house, it seems like they increase exponentially.
So it starts out slow, so you can kind of primer style. So you think you're going to be able to follow this. So John, our main guy, runs away from the goons. He runs into this camper, and another version of himself is already there. We haven't seen any time travel yet. We just see another version of John. He says, push the button, push the button, push the button, you'll know when. And the John we've been following runs out of the camper, gets tracked down by the goons, gets held in the there's a dirty bathtub out in the field. The goons try to drown him, and he presses the button. Now, this is a question. You'll notice my tone if you're not listening to us live. Everything goes back except him, but including him, because he hits the button in the bathtub and stays at the bathtub.
You travel in time, but not in space. You mean when he travels back to when there's a guy in the shitter?
No, we're gonna stay right. We're gonna start right at the beginning. We're gonna start where the movie does.
Okay.
He's getting, so there's a John in the camper.
Yeah.
Already.
Yep.
And there's a John getting held in the bathtub trying to get drowned.
Right.
The John in the bathtub presses the button.
Yeah.
Everything goes back in time. Except him. He stays at the bathtub.
No. He goes back in time only. But he's there 10 minutes ago when there's no people there trying to drown him.
Right.
Yeah.
But some version of him resets, because now there's still a John back at the original confrontation with Shelton.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't reset. They all exist.
But if he
this is how he makes copies of himself. There's no reset.
But there is, though, because it creates a copy that stays at the point in time that he reverts to. So it's weird. It's just weird to me that he. So are they saying that? So is the version that's at the bathtub the copy, but the one who hit the button is the one that goes back to the confrontation point? Or does he stay at the tub and another one of him is
The one who pressed it at the tub is like in the round one, he's the first version. He's going through this timeline the first, and now he's back in at the tub, but while the original version of himself is in the room being threatened by the guy with the gun.
so
He's not swapping with anyone. He is moving back in time, but not space only. But then he is the guy that ends up being the one behind in the room behind the bag that says press the bracelet. So now you got to follow the journey.
It seems to me that, and this is just me speaking from all the other 120 time travel movies we've watched, that usually I feel like our main John would go back to the confrontation point while his copy stayed at the tub. Because
I think that's moving forward. It's a timeline. That guy will become him in the tub. It's just like you got to follow their sequence in the timeline. That guy will become him, and we're following the journey of like number one. That is at least until there's like 3 or 4, and then I don't think we're supposed to be meant to know even which is the first at that point.
Right. Well, because we don't know who the first one is to begin with, because there's already a copy of him in the camper.
Right. We know the one. We're following the journey and the experience of. You're right, which I think is like the second version. We're following the journey of the second one, if you want to take this chronologically. But we've done these types of films before, and like this, if this had a map, right, it would make sense.
Right.
So we're following technically the second. If it went linear, which at this point it kind of does, like, but we're following number 2, and we follow his journey up into a point where there's like 3 copies, and then it's just kind of chaos.
So, all right, we're gonna go through my notes here.
So anyway, he uses it the first time to escape. He's betrayed by his friend. He's being threatened by the mob boss about the money robbing. He uses the bracelet the first time to get out of being drowned. And then this is where he starts. He only goes back a few minutes. And now he's a copy of him. And there's 2 of him at the same time. And this is where things kind of go off the rails a little bit.
So we end up. So he keeps hitting it just like what's going to happen. He's watching himself run into the camper, and then he's watching his second self run into the camper. And
he's watching himself
and run out. And then he presses it again just to be like, okay, what's going on? And then he presses it again so that he can talk to so while the 2 are running in and out of the camper, he knows that one of him is just sitting watching outside the camper, so he can confront him casually, which he does. And he's like, hey, I just wanted to talk to you. And those 2.
And he says, don't press the button because I just want to see what happens.
Yeah.
And now he's got a buddy.
So now there's 2 sets of 2, basically. And the 2 that have talked to each other about time travel, now go talk to a guy named Jay.
This guy comes out of nowhere. This film felt like it was made in like a very specific era in like the late 90s, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Like, the way they also pay homage to like Taxi Driver. They have the moment where he's like threatening the mirror, and they actually have a Taxi Driver poster behind him. You know, it's got like wannabe Tarantino vibes a little bit. It feels like a movie, that would have existed back then.
This guy watched Pulp Fiction, Clerks, and Primer.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I got it. Hey, you guys, I got it. I can do this. And he does. I mean, the special.
Oh, you froze.
The special effects are flawless. Like, I didn't see a single break in the camera or.
Yeah, they're not too fancy, but it did the job.
I mean, getting 3 of you. I kept on like, the second time I watched, I was like staring at blades of grass blowing in the breeze, waiting for them to jump around, and they didn't. So, Congratulations. Good job.
So they talk to their friend, and this guy, who knows who this fucking guy is? They knock on like a barn door, and it's like, oh, it's this guy. This is the guy that just stays home and watches TV and knows everything. And he's like, oh, I see that bracelet. Yeah, here's the story behind the Chinese history of the empires that created the bracelet. And he breaks down the lore for them because, of course, he knows it. And he warns of the demons that will consume all if you use it too much.
Yes.
Is this at what point do they do their first robbery to get money?
So right now he talks him into it. Jay basically talks him into it. Like, why don't you guys, like, if all you want to do is get money, if you're trying to get money, just go. Oh no, they want to replace the bag of Chinese money.
Yeah,
that's right. So they're
going to rob someone else. Yeah,
they're going to go rob a bank, but of course banks don't have money anymore. It's all digital. So they go in. So again, we're going to try to track all these J's. So there's still 2 J's off, I don't know where. And then these 2 J, no. There's 2 Johns off somewhere. The 2 Johns that talk to Jay go in to rob a bank. One of them gets immediately shot in the face. And then the other one runs out. And then that's when he runs to the bathroom. And he's like, what the fuck is going on? I don't know what's going on. He hits the button, goes back. It always goes back a very convenient amount of time. And of course, there's someone in the bathroom now. And they have a funny little confrontation. And then so now he knows that the other 2 Johns that are off running around are going to meet each other. So that means these 2 Johns have already created 2 other Johns, but we're not going to talk about that because the movie doesn't talk about that.
Yeah.
But these 2 Johns have met each other now. And so he knows they're going to go talk to Jay and then try to go rob the bank. So the one that's still alive after the time jump in the bathroom goes to the bank and secures the gun that's going to kill one of the Johns.
Yeah.
And so they successfully robbed this bank for $40.
Yeah.
Give or take.
Right. So we have 3 people at 3 of them at this point. Yeah, they didn't get that much money from the bank. Is this the point they named themselves Mega Time Squad? Or was that later on?
I think that's after the bar scene.
Okay, yeah.
That's after the bar. So, and I wrote it down in my notes because I'm still trying to track this, but at some point in here, one of them talks to Kelly.
Right. There's the sister of the main crime boss. There's a love interest with them.
And I don't know how the one that talks to Kelly becomes one of these 3, but somehow,
yeah,
it's
amazing that you tried to keep track. I realized at a point once there was the 3, I was like, I don't know if we're supposed to know who's who at this point. I'll just go with it.
So they rob the bank. One of them goes back in time so that the 2 that remain will get more beer money. So now is the one that goes back in time, is he now the one that's going to go to the bank and secure the shotgun?
Maybe. I don't know.
So 2 of them are in the bar drinking with their $40. One of them goes to the bathroom. One of them gets stabbed. The one that's stabbed goes back in time, is now healed.
Yeah.
And he goes to hide in the bathroom while now the 2 come into the bar for the first time,
right,
with their $40 and they're drinking. And then one of them goes to the bathroom, and then those 2 come and confront the thugs before they're able to stab John 3.
Right.
And now I went deep. I went hard on this. Good. And then that's when they declare themselves the Mega Time Squad.
Yeah, it'll be a team, a squad. Yeah, like a time squad. No, Mega Time Squad.
Mega.
I'll confess, I was fighting a sickness yesterday, and so I was in a bit of a trance. Some of this film was just in a very weird state. So there's parts that I'm like, I don't know.
So now one of them, this part, so I guess this is how we do it. One of them from the bar jumps back and says, oh, I got to go do my. I got to go do my part now. So I don't
Oh.
know which one. If he goes to the bathroom, it becomes that third guy.
Or he
Over
became
again.
the demon. One of them became the demon at some
Much
point.
later. Much later.
Well, one of these earlier ones might be the one that is the demon that we see later.
Oh, right.
I don't know if we're supposed to know exactly which one is which at this point. So they decide, I don't remember where the girlfriend, like they ends up getting with the girl. Oh, they rescue her, right?
Not yet. So now these two, they're like, well, we can do whatever we want. Like we're fucking time lords. So
Yeah.
let's go to Sheldon's and be time lords and figure this out. And so this is when it gets crazy. Because I think this is one of those situations where we're supposed to assume that dozens of them die, but they keep going back in time. When one of them dies, then they go back in time and go through a different door. And then one of them dies and they go back in time and go through a different door. And so they're just wandering around this house, blowing everyone, melting everyone's brain. Shelton's going crazy because he's on the cameras and he can see a dozen of them coming and going. And
that's a pretty fun scene where they're just walking around and like multiplying.
Yeah, we never see more than 3 at a time, but
No.
I think we're supposed to imagine there's
it seems like there's 20. Yeah, there's 20 at a time, and they're just like walking around the house. And people are like, what the fuck?
Because they eventually, one of them gets to know Kelly really well. One of them gets the money, and 5 of them. Oh, one of them drives. I bet that's the one.
Demon?
The demon, the one who drives away from Shelton's, because I don't think we see him again. One of them drives away from Shelton's. 4 come out, and then that's when they realize there's 5. They started with like 4 is the magic number, apparently. They don't talk about it, but they can keep track of 4. And they start yelling at each other because no, they do find the 5th one because he goes to Peora.
Right.
And they
end up.
That's right. She is in the car. That's right. She's in the car. They're going to Peora. And these 4 are yelling at each other, trying to figure out which one's going to go back. And of course, they all want the girl and the money now. So none of them are going back. They know where John and Kelly are going. So then they all go to the hotel. And that's where the 5 of them confront each other. And they all want the girls and the money, the girl and the money.
They all want to rip each other off. It's pretty, you'd think you would. Obviously, movies handle this where like people try to kill other versions of themselves. I always feel like I would feel a kinship with other versions of myself, but maybe that's what it says about certain people. Anyway, it feels like Train Spotting, and they all have this money, and they all want to rip each other off. And so one gets up to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and the other one doesn't trust that one, and they follow that one, and it's crazy times.
Okay, so now, there's 5 at the hotel.
Yeah.
2 get stabbed.
Okay.
1 gets shot in the face.
And we're starting to think that the demon is coming after them. We actually see it at some point, that someone's grabbing them and stabbing them.
Yes. One of them, Kelly gets abducted. And one of them goes to the Chinese man to figure out what the hell's going on.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know where the 5th one goes. So maybe now this is where. So I keep on saying it, but then I keep on tracking all 5 of them down. So this maybe is where. Because he goes, talks to the Chinese guy. The Chinese guy says, I used the time machine. And he doesn't say it, but he basically says, I had to kill all the other versions of myself. That's how I was able to survive and escape the demon. There's blood on my hands. There can be only one.
Right.
And then he goes to Jay's house. Oh, he leaves the bracelet there. And then he has a conversation with his reflection about growing nuts. He's thinking about maybe going in and getting the bracelet again. But his mirror self says, you just need to grow some nuts. So he goes to Jay's house, grows some nuts. He and Jay go to rescue Kelly and get the money.
Right, without the bracelet now. So yeah, he's earned his bravery over the time. There's such like a 90s movie scene. They're kind of gearing up, they're putting on their war paint and get him and his buddy are going in for a final battle. And so they go in, right? I'm trying to remember, they start eliminating the other versions of himself.
No, there's only two now. There's Nuts and Mask.
Got it. So they go back to get everybody else. He ends up in a compromised. Oh, his buddy gets shot.
Yes.
But he's going to sacrifice himself. He's like, no, you got to do this. He has to clear thing up with the lady who was kind of over what a shithead he was being prior. And then he gets captured once again by the head honcho who's got a gun to him. And then he grows his nuts and he's like, man, you're not going to shoot me. You have people to do all this stuff for you. And he does this psychological warfare and he talks everybody else into being like, yeah, he does make us do his stuff for him. He is scared. And everybody kind of quits on the guy and he gets nuts and he stands up to him.
And Shelton's got no nuts.
Yep. And Shelton does have no nuts. And Shelton loses everything. And our hero gets the girl and they have the money. And they go to skip town. But try to remember, then he sees, at what point does he see the masked version, the demon?
When they stop, they're skipping town. They stop for gas and a pie. And in the bathroom, he's getting confronted by the demon.
Yeah.
And that's when the demon takes off his mask to reveal another version of John. And he says, I have to kill you because there can be only one. And John says, well, how about I give you the money and I keep the girl? And he says, cool.
Okay.
So,
and then he takes the money and they're driving in the car and she just goes, did you have to give the money to keep me? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, okay. You chose me over money.
Sorry, I'm
That's how. What about the scene where they're getting it on in bed and she was like, oh, I've wanted this since when I met you. I've wanted this since before I met you. And it keeps escalating. And he's like, I wanted this since before I ever knew you. He's like, I wanted this when you were, I didn't even know you were just a little girl. And she was like, wait, what?
How little?
Like, no, I mean like, like consenting age, 18.
And that goes in line with the pedo shoes.
Oh yeah. No, it's dope.
It's dope.
Pedo.
This guy has D-O on one foot, P-E on the other foot. And when he crosses his legs, it says pedo.
It's a bit of a bummer that the folklore of the demon's going to consume everything and we think it's a real thing and it's kind of not. One of them just takes on that role. And then in the end, he's like, no, there's got to be one of you or else you'll get consumed. In the end, there is two and that they were fine. It's a bit of a bummer to go against the folklore.
I mean, or it's a sweet sequel setup.
Or that was just a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah. What is other than mass confusion, what's the problem with multiples?
Yeah. He made it sound like everything would get destroyed and consumed. And then two of them existed and they went, nah. And no one's being consumed by any demons.
So is what in the way we're supposed to think the folklore is met is that the demon will kill all but one. So the Chinese guy decided to do the killing first so that he knew he would be the last one. Or will the demon kill them all because they...
No, the demon will kill them all to right everything unless there's one left, in which case he won't.
So he'll kill all but one. The demon would probably leave one alive as well.
Yeah.
But you don't know which one that'll be. So to secure your own legacy.
But like he was really scared of it. And it was like, it felt like a real thing to add to the mystery and the legend. And like for that just to not be a thing at the end is kind of, it's a bummer.
Yeah, I guess he doesn't, because it.
Did they say how the time travel device was made? So in this, we have a device and it's a bracelet. It's more mystical than anything else. I don't remember where in the story, how it was constructed.
Do you think there's a possibility that the John we see at the very end is the masked John and he killed Nice John, pocketed the money and took the girl?
Oh, I thought that for a moment. When she did the thing, because you see, that's what I thought when it first happened, but then you actually see the other John with the money walk away.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. You
What?
actually see him by the car before they go to the car. You see him like closing the trunk. He's carrying a bag and he walks off. But yeah, I was wondering that because it's kind of ambiguous. They say he just, you know what, he doesn't accept the deal yet. And then he's acting weird around her. And you're like, did he just kill her? But then you see the guy walking off. And then the fact that she says, did you let another version take the money? And he said, yeah. And then she thought that was sweet. And now they're in love. I think they did it legit. And everybody wins. You don't win everything, but someone gets the money and someone gets the girl.
Did you see me throw my remote control as far as I could? Because I didn't.
This is fun, folks. You can watch Desmond look for his remote control live. This is all happening live. If it wasn't, we wouldn't make you watch this.
I wanted to rewind it again. And
all right. Hey, you got to be present. We can't control time. It's already passed.
All right.
You got to be like regular humans and just accept time.
Oh, humanity is the worst. Yeah, this was
It was a good ham and cheese sandwich. It wasn't on organic Dutch crunch bread, but you were hungry and you picked it up and it tasted okay.
It's like someone said, I'm gonna grill you a ham and cheese sandwich, and then 5 minutes later they're like, I'm out of Swiss. Is provolone okay? And you're like, well, I'm not gonna have it without cheese.
I would have went with cheddar first for ham, but I'm okay. Yeah, let's do this.
Either way, you're stuck with provolone.
Well, look at you. You're getting a more distinctive palate. You used to like anything. I think we're on the same page. I think this was a amusing film like that. The dry humor is fun. It's doesn't take itself too seriously. It's a very simple film, but it's enough that they play with the idea of the making copies of yourself with time. And then it's a little bit of a mind, like where Desmond even tried to figure out who was coming from where. I think at some point you're supposed to just expect the chaos. It's funny to use time travel as more of just a photocopy machine, right? This is almost multiplicity.
Yeah.
They're just using time travel as the device, but it's not like someone's going 50 years and how it's going to affect the timeline. They're just going minutes, and it's really just to make the copy. That's really the only effect. We're not changing timeline at any point. We're just making copies. So it's an interesting take.
Because is this creating vortices where, around the initial confrontation and the camper and all that stuff, there's just an endless 4 Johns, because one has to keep going back, because this is one of those things that what's happened has always happened. And if that's true, then
you've seen the films where we've had a straight line and then there's a loop kind of in the middle and then they come out into another straight line. So the loop repeats within the straight line. We've seen that where like there's been 4 of one kind, but then finally in that final loop there ends up being one. I think it's one of those. There's two.
Yeah.
Walk out.
Yeah. There's the original confrontation, and then there's the Shelton house, which 2 go in. And so that means that the 2 that went in the first time were there until the 2 that came in, the next 2 came in, and then they made gumbo and 5 came out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're supposed to understand the chaos. At any point, someone could have made some other copy. There could still be other versions out there that are just avoiding the whole situation. We don't know, because people make copies and copies make copies. It spreads like COVID.
If two went into Shelton's house, only 2 should have come out. Why were they so comfortable with 4 coming out?
Because they
were mad that there was 5.
They could have went back while they were in there and made more. It's like you're multiplying. They're like
gremlins. It only takes 1 to say, this is madness. I don't want Kelly or the money. I just want to get out of here.
Yeah.
And
except they all think the same.
The whole system breaks down.
Yeah.
But they're all getting different like what's the word I'm thinking of? Like forces pushing on them to make their decisions. Like the first two have a certain reason for going in, but then when they hit because they don't go back in time, just two more of them reset outside the house. But they don't have oh my God.
So it's got enough to chew on.
Okay.
But I think there are things that we don't know. Like there are copies that they might have made that we don't know about. Like, I don't know if you're meant to follow all these.
So this would make more sense again so the two go into Shelton's, they hit the button. The two that respawn outside don't have any information. So if the first two that go in get shot in the face, like that's again where it would make more sense if the copy stayed where they hit the button, and then they went back in time, allowing them to have the information they need from the future to succeed. Because the copy that gets reset back in time has none of that information.
The copy that gets reset back in. Well, now you lost me somewhere, but
so the guy who hits the button the first time,
yeah,
he gets reset at the altercation where they're going to shoot him.
Reset? No, he goes back in time.
No, because yes, he goes back in time, but he stays where he pressed the button.
Which is by where he was getting drowned.
Right.
Yeah.
But the guy that's at the original confrontation
was him from the past. Well, a new version.
Exactly. He doesn't have any information from the time traveler.
Right. The original one, the one who's at the Shelton house, not the one outside.
No, we're still at the original confrontation and the bathtub.
Yeah. The original confrontation guy has no idea. He has not become bathtub man yet.
Right. And so that's the same thing at Shelton's house. When they keep pressing the button, the ones that start from scratch from outside that didn't press the button yet don't have any of that information from the future to actually help them succeed.
Okay.
So the whole point of going back in time is to go back in time with the information you've learned.
The ones who press it go back, they do know.
But the one that resets at that moment in time.
I don't know what you mean by reset.
Well, it's not a reset. Whoever is in that timeline.
Whoever presses the button leaves.
But
but then they catch up in the future. They hang around. This is all happening live, folks. This is the Bob Ross portion.
This is John. John presses the button. Boom. Goes back in time. And now this John doesn't know anything that this John did.
Right. Correct.
So again, the whole point of going back in time is that you go back with the information you've learned so you can use it to succeed.
Well, but he tries to, this movie isn't really doing that. They're like making copies and getting strength in numbers.
But they kind of are.
And they help out the older one, right? Like he hides in the tin and says, use the bracelet. I mean, they try to help out.
I think.
Or they shoot the woman before she shoots them. So they go in the past and they help him out.
Yeah, it's just I just can't tell if this movie was intentionally vague so that you and I would have a podcast, or if it was I don't actually know how to write a time travel movie. I just want to play with my special effects machine.
I really got the feeling that past a certain point we weren't supposed to be keeping track. Once there was 3 of them of who was who, once people started dying, once they're walking around the house and multiplying, I think we're just to know that it's chaos. and it's a comedy film, so it's not taking itself that seriously.
And I am in the minority here, people, because this movie is highly praised.
Oh,
People love. I mean, at least the people that decided to talk about it. Critics, too.
well, it's a cult film, I think. But wait, so what your thought is that it's like it's is that your vibe?
It's. I feel like it's a couple scenes away from being awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, maybe you don't do the magical Chinese thing. Maybe it's so I don't know. I just don't know why you have to go back to Asian. It just makes it
It's a
slightly
couple
problematic.
it's a
Go ahead.
couple of steps from being the mindfuck films that you like Time Crimes, like Triangle. Is it 41, the one in the hotel? Where it's like you see the first journey of the person, then they go back, and then you've got 3 or 4 copies, and it's up to your brain to stretch to understand all what's happening and how significant each part of the movie was. I know the Desmond likes those, and this was almost that, but they didn't go there.
Film critic Cat Hughes says it perfectly. She did not rate it very high, but she nails my thoughts. Mega Time Squad has certainly been well shot, but unfortunately, there's just something intangible missing to make it truly special. Thank you, Kat.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was fine. It was enjoyable. The New Zealand humor, makes it fun. But as time travel enthusiasts, it's not the end all be all. They don't take the time travel that seriously, and it's maybe not even as fun as like a frequently asked questions or Hot Tub Time Machine. It doesn't even have that much heart or oomph. It's a little light. It's a little light.
And this is New Zealanders really love this movie, so there might be something in their DNA. Like you said, like they probably watch Hot Tub Time Machine and just go, I don't get it. Like, I don't. There's something there, but I don't get it. And same thing when I watch this, I go, there's something there, but I don't get it.
Yeah, it's the humor. It's very specific. It's very Flight of the Conchords-y too. Yeah, very deadpan.
Like this is the worst fan rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Interesting concept, but simply not that clever. You pretty much see all the best gags in the trailer. I'm not faulting it for low budget. I just expect it to rise above Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle jokes. I'm not sure what movie the critics saw, but if they consider this laugh out loud humor, I trust their opinions even less.
Ooh. All right.
Silly, poorly written. At least it doesn't take itself too seriously.
It's true.
Great fun. I laughed so much. Extremely silly, low-budget Kiwi comedy that peters out a little towards the end, but a pretty fun watch.
That's fair.
So yeah, I guess that brings us to our rating. What time is it, Scott? Do you need some
I do. Actually, if I see the link, I could see the ratings, right?
Yep.
Okay. What did we do last week?
Last week was the greatest hits. You gave it a 620.
Okay. I will give this. Oh man.
Let's see. What else is My Science Project? You gave 345.
God, is this better or worse than my greatest hits?
I mean, to me, it's got to be. I mean, it's not worse, but
it's right around there.
I enjoyed the greatest hits more. I don't know. This was
right. This one and greatest hits are not too far for different reasons.
They're really not.
What'd you say I gave greatest hits? 640?
620.
Do I have anything for 630?
I think you do have a 6:30. Totally Killer got 6:30.
Oh, that's better than this. All right. So this should be maybe 6:25 or 6. That should be 6:15. I'm gonna go 6:15 on this. Oh,
Yeah. Oh,
It's got more going on than Greatest Hits, I think. Like time travel wise, it's more unique. I almost want to switch that with Greatest Hits, but
this is why I try not to look at our ratings before I do it.
yeah, we'll have to correct these one day.
I just try to go from the gut because my gut was like,
I'll say 6:15.
my gut is like 7-ish, but I'm looking at everything else that I've rated 7-ish, and this is most of them I would rewatch before I rewatch. But again, I just watched this twice in 3 days. I'm good on Mega Time Squad for a while.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, this. Let me see. Hang on. Let's get some of my favorite quotes from this movie. Well, not some of them are quotes. Some of them are just things that happened. I can't wait to have my first Bic warmed hot dog. gotta get me one of those. Liker's gonna like. I gotta get me a shirt that says Liker's gonna like. I love that our main bad guy is actually trying to get into the business of naming businesses.
Oh yeah.
That reminds me of what's his name? Ross from Friends in the movie $20. He says, in my next life, I'm going to get in the business of boxes, because think about it, even boxes are shipped in boxes. So, oh, my new favorite saying is sweet as. They kept saying sweet as.
Yeah.
Especially the guy, the come in hotel guy.
Yeah.
Sweet as. Oh, the guy who plays Damage is in an upcoming Time Pop film called Blood Punch.
Oh, okay.
Is on our short list. So we got a 2-timer
All right.
coming up here. Yeah, and then the rest of this is just 3 pages of me trying to track all the.
God bless your little heart for trying, my friend. You're a noble man.
It all fell apart at Shelton's. I'm gonna just give this a half, a mid, the middle rating. I'm not even gonna look and see if anything else has taken the slot. 6 o'clock. It's totally watchable, and it's no, you know what? I'm gonna give it a 5.55.
Whoa.
5.55.
I scored higher than Desmond somehow.
Because I'm going to go just below half, because they didn't help make all of the time travel make sense.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's why I'm here.
Yeah. All right. And I'm 6:15. And yeah, good. You're getting a discerning palate. I'm proud of you. Desmond 3 years ago would have given this a 9.
9:30. Everything would have been my rating would have gone from 10 to 12, and I would have just squeezed everything in that 120 minutes. Any final thoughts?
No, it's good to see again a different aspect. The really just using it as a cloning device. Not original, but it was a fun romp and a good delve into the New Zealand dry humor style.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Until next time, I'm Desmond McNeese.
And I'm Scott Lifton. See you all in the future, past. Or the present. Then.
Now. I can see you now. We're
Yeah,
still live.
Right. Oh, actually, you can see us now. Yeah, you're seeing us now.
Right now, we're still live.
But some might see this in the future, and we'll be in the past.
Which was when?
Then.
Did I miss it?
Yes, it just happened. Just now.
Bye. Not to you, Scott. You stick around.
Okay.